Hello, my name is Ian Paterson and I'm a senior lecturer in international relations at the University of Glasgow.
My name is Ben Rosher, and I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Gothenburg.
And we are delighted to introduce our paper, What is Like Us? The Desecuritisation of Migration as Ontological Security Seeking in Scotland. Now, the securitisation of immigration in the UK and across the wider globe in recent decades has been well documented, as has the increasing rise in political success of populist anti-immigration parties and actors. Yet, as we demonstrate in this paper, over the last decade, the Scottish Government has pursued a highly visible desecuritizing approach to immigration. The underexplored question of why the Scottish Government has done so is the focus of our article.
Now, to make sense of our argument, in the UK political system, immigration powers are held by the UK Parliament. However, through the architecture of the hostile environment, several powers which impact on immigration governance once people are in country have been delegated to the devolved administrations, including the Scottish Parliament, such as health, education, and housing. The second piece of important context is that during our analytical period, which spans between 2014 to 2024, the Scottish Government has been formed by the Scottish National Party, a secessionist-oriented party whose central policy objective is for Scotland to attain sovereign independence.
So in trying to understand why the Scottish Government have pursued desecuritization of immigration, the literature on sub-state foreign policy making would suggest that first, it simply supports the SNP's political goals of state building and differentiation from the UK. And second, it supports economic goals, because Scotland, like many other states and regions, is facing severe demographic pressures. But these pressures are not unique to Scotland, and these explanations do not get at the fundamental motivations for why such an enthusiastic and consistent desecuritization has been adopted. Other decisions could have been made to obtain political goals, whilst, as Brexit demonstrates, economic interests are not reliable drivers of state behaviour. So our core argument, therefore, is that to understand Scotland's overtly positive immigration position, it's necessary to better understand the Scottish self at the ontological level.
Briefly, ontological security concerns the phenomenological security of the self, and this requires a stable and positive self-perception, which is maintained through autobiographical narratives. In this paper, we argue that pursuing a desecuritized positive immigration politics supports the core autobiographical narrative of the Scottish Government about who Scotland and its people are, and that is to say open, welcoming, and internationalist. As such, only a pro-immigration politics, and specifically one that is more so than that of the central UK government, is fully congruent with the core autobiographical narratives and thus supportive of Scotland's ontological security seeking. Now, second, we argue that the pursuit of a desecuritized immigration politics is, from a Lacanian perspective, affectively appealing. Now, in Lacanian approaches to ontological security studies, the subject is constituted by a lack which it is forever seeking to fill in order to attain ontological security. The Scottish self, at least from a nationalist perspective, is constituted by a lack of statehood. As control over immigration policy is a central pillar of statehood, attempting to define a distinctly Scottish immigration outlook is an attempt to fill this lack and attain a sense of ontological security and the realization of a more complete and whole Scottish self. That these powers are withheld and that the frequent requests for their devolution have been denied keeps this Lacanian fancy alive. And so the integration of Lacanian ontological security in our article contributes to desecuritization studies in helping to move beyond analyses of how desecuritization can or does occur to why desecuritization of a specific issue and in specific contexts may be pursued and be effectively rewarded. In doing so, we also sharpen the critique of the conservative bias in ontological security studies, illustrating that the pursuit of extensive change, in our case, the pursuit of a radical shift in policy, can be made congruent with ontological security seeking.
Now, an additional contribution we make is to show how the Scottish Government's discourse, policy and practice is both simultaneously a desecuritizing move with implications in the present, and that it represents a novel example of future-orientated desecuritization, with an extensive preemptive policy architecture being crafted in an attempt to ground any future approach to immigration governance in Scotland should powers be devolved or independence occur. The role played by fantasy in making desecuritisation politics affectively rewarding in our case has important implications for, first, the future stability of this position should Scotland either remain within the UK or indeed depart from the UK, but also at a normative level. Our article underlines the point that not all collective identity projects are ethically the same. Ethical ontological security seeking is possible, where the spirit of welcome and embrace of a level of difference and change are key pillars that define a collective us. But to prevent triumphalism or complacency, it's vital to ensure that fantasies related to openness and welcome are explicitly pitched as ongoing, never-ending projects. That is, there is an embrace of a degree of change by striving to continually better the self, rather than just attempt to better the other. Thank you for your time today. We hope the ideas presented here have garnered some interest and are useful for you.
And we warmly invite you to get in touch if you have any comments, criticisms, or questions on this paper. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.